Chapter 6. Muddy Feet. Light. Blinding light. I groaned. Oh, that hurt. My throat felt like the desert. My head was throbbing. I lifted my arm painfully to my head and felt something. I pulled on it, getting it out of my hair. A twig from a bush? I looked toward Mallory's bed and it was empty, but all her things were still there. I made a face at that. I looked at the bottom bunk to the side. Jeanette was passed out with all her clothes on, even shoes. I looked down at my feet. They were completely muddy and filthy. Grass was stuck in my toes. I pushed through the pain my entire body felt and got down from my bunk as quietly as I could. I grabbed my bag off the hook and checked my shoes. Thank the goddess they were finally dry. I tiptoed out the door and bolted toward the bathroom building. I was utterly relieved to find the showers were empty. I dropped to my knees at a cabinet under the sink and thankfully found lots of little bottles for the shower. I had to hurry since I had no clue what was next on my schedule. I got in the shower and dumped some body wash into my hands, scrubbing my shirt. I then took it off and finished hand washing it before throwing it over the curtain rod. I repeated the process with the rest of my clothes. It didn't matter how much I washed them. They were still raggedy and there was no fixing that. I looked at them and sighed. I stayed in the shower for what seemed like forever, not wanting to go back out into reality. I shook myself, hearing others coming into the bathroom. I finished fingering the conditioner out of my hair and turned off the water. I opened the curtain and got the one towel I owned from my bag. It wasn't very big, but it had to do. I twisted the water out of my hair and sat on the bench. I braided it into the tightest braid I could manage, hoping it looked decent. I slowly began to remember last night in bits and pieces. I had gotten drunk. The punch must have had alcohol. Wow, I'm an idiot. I had a flash of the counselor that accosted us for being out late. I hoped I didn't run into him again. I didn't want to draw any attention to myself, and the idea of getting kicked out of camp made me absolutely sick. I got back to my bunk to find everyone standing around outside doing stretches. We're late because of you. Have some damn respect for other people's time. I can't believe I still have to sleep in the same room as you. If you have bugs or anything else, I'll kill you in your sleep. Mallory seethed. Calm down, we're not that late. Damn drama queen, Jeanette said, moving out of the way so I could put my stuff inside. I had to shower. I'm sorry. What's going on? I haven't looked at the schedule, I said, fidgeting with my hands. What do you think happens at camp? Training, duh. You'll probably get your weak little ass kicked all over the place, Mallory said, turning to walk away. How I've managed not to kill her in all these years, I'll never understand, Jeanette said, shaking her head. We all began to follow our counselor, and after 10 minutes we arrived at a large field with easily 50 other campers in a circle. Once we got close enough, I saw 3 very large males in the center. Megan led us right to the middle, and my jaw dropped when I recognized 2 of them.
You're all in for a treat today. Training will be led by 2 of our crowned princes, Prince Dawson and Prince Damien. My name is William, and I am the retinue to Prince Dawson, the future king of the 10 kingdoms. Give them both your full attention at all times, and ensure you are following their instructions as directed.
A male said. I was in shock, staring at the male who had saved me from drowning and the counselor who accosted us for being out past curfew. They're brothers? Wait, they are princes? Both were shirtless and it was all I could notice. Both were already sweaty like they'd been working out and the sun made their skin glisten. I licked my lips.
Pups, some of you were late, and we won't tolerate that. You are expected to be here on time, and if you can't manage that simple task, don't bother coming. We're going to start with some exercises to get you loose, and then we'll pick partners to spar with.
Prince Dawson said. He continued on, but suddenly I couldn't hear it. I was totally frozen in place, lost in the sheer amount of skin and muscle in front of me. I really wasn't used to seeing males shirtless, and never once that looked like they did. And certainly not Lycans, yet they seemed to have no hair anywhere below their chins. Did they shave their chests and arms? Why was I even dwelling on this? My heart was racing. Seeing them both next to each other was too much. They had to be a foot taller than me, and their muscles made them look as though they could carry me with one arm. Oh, don't be stupid, Trixie. Nobody's ever carrying you anywhere. I didn't realize I was gawking so badly at Prince Damien until he looked back at me and winked. I quickly fixed my face and looked down. Did I just hallucinate that? Was he actually looking at me?
Does everyone understand? Any questions?
Prince Dawson asked. Suddenly, a hand shoved at my back, propelling me forward. I stumbled several steps since I was completely taken by surprise.
Yes, pup.
Prince Dawson said, less than a foot from me. I looked up at him with sheer panic. My eyes were all over his face, trying to figure out what to do. What to say. His face, however, was serious and angry.
Do you have something to say or what?
He snapped, stepping towards me. I frantically shook my head, unable to form words. I looked down. He snapped his fingers, forcing me to look up.
Look at me when I speak to you,
he said, annoyed. I'm sorry, I said, barely in a whisper, raising my head.
Sorry what?
He demanded. I'm sorry, Your Highness, I said, not knowing how I was supposed to address him.
Well, it seems you're rather feeble and weak. You clearly need more help than anyone. I'll be your partner. But first, drop and give me 20, everyone!
He yelled. 20? 20 what? I had no clue what he was talking about. I shifted my head to the side and everyone was falling to the grass. I dropped to my knees, but something made me quickly look up at the prince. He was staring at me with a look of absolute contempt on his face, and his arms crossed. I forced my head down and tried to copy what everyone else was doing. I barely made it through 10 of the exercises, and my arms hurt so bad. I wasn't totally out of shape. I ran around doing housework all day long, but this was a different kind of movement I was certainly not used to.
Pick it up! Come on, stop wimping out and push on!
The prince yelled from just over me. I groaned and finally finished, then sat up on my knees to notice that literally everyone else was already done and staring at me.
About time! Now half of you will go run to the medic building and back, then do 10 minutes of cardio exercises while the rest of us spar. Then we'll switch out. William will lead the run.
Prince Dawson said, waving his hands. I pushed myself to my feet. As instructed, half the crowd left.
I'm just going to guess you've never had to fight before,
Prince Dawson said. I still couldn't find my voice. He terrified me. I shook my head.
The world can be a cruel place. You need to know how to defend yourself. Your wolf isn't going to instinctively know. Sharp teeth can't get you out of everything. This is important,
he said, moving closer to me. Suddenly, his hand moved towards my face as if to punch me, and I closed my eyes to brace for the impact. But it never came.
Pathetic. Clearly you don't value your face. Why didn't you even try to block me?
He demanded. You're a prince. I can't...
Bullshit! I'm a predator. I'm a beast who wants to tear you limb from limb. You're really going to just stand there and what? Hope a fairy godmother comes by to save you?
He said, inches from my face. I could feel his breath, and it was hot. I could feel his loud voice practically vibrating the air between us. I'd always managed to escape being violent myself, despite seeing plenty of violence. I didn't know how to be aggressive, or how to even be evasive. I walked back from him a few steps and put my hands up. Do it again, I said, looking him in the eye. He laughed out loud, and so did my hero. It pissed me off. Everyone always underestimated me. No one ever thought I was capable of anything. Heck, I probably couldn't do it, but I had to try. With 2 large steps towards me, he swung again, and I quickly dodged it, just missing his arm. Unfortunately, I was not at all prepared for his leg, which swooped mine and knocked me flat on my ass. Suddenly, applause and cheers sprang up from the audience, and I gasped for air. The wind knocked clean out of me.
Always expect the unexpected. Always be prepared for a follow-up. On your feet, again!
He yelled. As I struggled to get up, my eyes met with Prince Damien, and he smiled at me. I heard the heavy footsteps behind me, and I crouched myself low and into a ball. Dawson had lunged for me, and his body now flew over mine, but instead of falling, he rolled and was back on his feet. Just as I stood, he jumped at me again, grabbing my shoulders. Then he was behind me with his arm around my neck.
Boom! I just snapped your neck. You're dead. You can't even try to protect yourself. Pathetic,
he said. More applause and cheering broke out. Even though he still had a grip on my neck, he wasn't paying attention to the rest of his body. I lifted my leg swiftly and stomped his foot. He thrust me forward and growled. I was terrified and turned to face him, but I didn't get the chance. A violent force thrust me forward, and my face was smashed into the grass. A large weight held me down, and I couldn't breathe.
Enough!
A stern voice said. I thought it was Prince Damien, but I couldn't tell. Hands were on my shoulders, pinning me down. I tried to breathe through my nose, and I cherished what little air came in.
Let her up. She can't breathe. You'll crush her.
The voice said again. Dawson began to laugh.
You might get all the tail at home, but at camp you better keep your damn pants on. Don't be getting attached to these pups. They're weak. Clearly even the lower kingdoms are pampering their females too much. Coddling them.
Dawson said, finally getting off me.
All right, everyone, pair off and practice.
A voice said. I pulled my legs into my stomach and half turned to my side, turning into a ball. I prayed to the goddess to make me disappear.